Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a good day. When this video reaches you, I'm going to talk today about my experiences with galactics and other beings and how they've helped me on my health journey. The first thing I want to say is I am not a doctor, I am not a nutritionist, I am not a athlete, I am not anybody in the medical industry. And so this is my story, not meant to be recommendations or anything. Always talk to your medical professional for anything that you wish to do in your life, and work with your medical professionals. I am not a medical professional. This is just my story. So I'm not sure where to start with this. I have several things to talk about, and it came up because I've had multiple clients reach out, a friend, just in the past couple of days, some of them having trouble breathing because of ascension symptoms, some of them having, some of them coughing, some of them having other issues, and one had cramps, one had aches and pains. There's just all kinds of stuff. And one of them was talking to me about this issue they had where their body was spasming on the lower, where the spleen is, on the lower left side of their body, and asking me if I could do a light code or tap into the guides and see what was going on. But I knew immediately what it was because I've had the issue before. And with all of these different things that have come up medical related in the past few days, I was like, I need to do just one video about this topic in my life with medicine and how I've healed myself, because my journey started long ago. Now, I didn't go to the doctor a lot as a kid. I didn't get wildly sick or anything of that nature. I mean, I know people who were kids and were always in and out of the hospital and that sort of thing. That wasn't me. But what I did have is I had extreme allergies. I was never diagnosed with asthma. I didn't have asthma. It was extreme allergies, to the point that when I would sleep as a child, I would wake up screaming and terrified because my eyes would seal shut and my nostrils would seal shut. Sometimes I woke up with not being able to breathe except for through my mouth. I remember, I don't remember what age I was, but I remember being 12 years old or something, standing by the bus and realizing I couldn't breathe through my nose, and I got this download of, you need to start breathing through your nose. And so from a young age, I started forcing myself to breathe through my nose, and I didn't know what that really felt like or meant, because it's very difficult for me. My nose was always plugged, always leaking, something always going on with it. My eyes would, the tear ducts would leak so much, especially at night, that it would run along my eyes and it would seal my eyelashes together. And I remember waking up several times as a kid thinking I lost my eyesight because I couldn't open my eyes. Very scary things. So when we were kids, this is the 80s and 90s, when I was younger, we were allowed to have soda, pop, whatever words you want to use for it. I typically use soda. We were allowed to have soda every once in a while, but we lived on things like Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid was the staple back then. I don't know if it still is for kids now. Lots of sugar in it, not really drinking water. You're drinking a very high sugar content product. And then we would have juice, and I loved juice, but it was the manufactured juice, which really isn't the best for you either. But one of the things I noticed when I got older is that, and my mom obviously noticed it when I was a kid, because I would only eat raw vegetables. I would eat every vegetable you could imagine, but always raw. As soon as you cooked it, I didn't like it. As soon as you cooked things, I didn't want them. I didn't eat them. A lot of things people cooked, especially casseroles, even today, I cannot touch casseroles. I don't like lasagna. I don't like All these things where people just take ingredients, throw them in a dish, and bake them off. But if you take all those ingredients and leave them raw, I'll eat them just fine. So as a child, I wasn't picky when it came to vegetables or fruits. I would love to eat them, but I was picky in how they were prepared. And if you cooked them, it was like, why would you do that? It's ruining it. The flavor changes, and it just never made sense to me. Now that I'm more of a raw vegan, I'm not 100% raw vegan, but I'm more of a raw vegan. It makes sense to me. And my mom even got to the point when I was a child that she would buy extra party plates of the fresh vegetables, knowing as soon as she put one out, I was going to start eating the carrots, the broccoli, the celery, the cauliflower. And before people got there, half of the tray would be gone, type of thing. So I knew as a child to eat healthy, but we didn't eat healthy because that's not how you eat. You eat how your parents eat. So you eat meat, you eat sugars, you eat whatever they prepare, processed foods, all this other stuff. And so time goes on. My mom, when I was, so it was right before I started driving, so I was probably 14 years old. They took me to get allergy shots because they were like, you know, you just can't live like this type of thing. My allergies were bad. I did not know that I didn't know how to breathe. It was just normal for me. Not to breathe. I'd be sick every Christmas. I'd be sick multiple times a year with respiratory things. I would get, you know, it was so bad, like I'd be taking tests. We had paper tests back then, for those of you who are younger. We'd be taking paper tests and stuff, and like the paper would be soaked in my juices, essentially. It was not nice, not pleasant for, you know, teachers and all that either, because there'd be stuff all over the place. That's how bad it was, my allergies. So we get allergy shots. We find out at the time, like, they're just allergic to all this stuff. And this is a typical for starseed energies, people who are just freshly here type of thing too, or are more connected to their galactic selves, other selves of other realms. They end up having a lot of allergies, a lot of autoimmune issues, a lot of just general medical things that nobody knows how to fix. They didn't know how to fix my stuff. I knew as a child how to fix it, but did not know that I knew how to fix it through what I ate. So I went on allergy shots. Allergy shots helped me for a few years, and my allergies started to dissipate. But then I started, so I had allergies. I had issues with, from a young age. I mean, at the time I was 18, my bones were cracking. My knees were cracking, my bones were cracking. The whole, you know, when people were like, oh, I'm turning 30 and my knees are starting to crack, like all of that, like the idea of getting older, which I don't subscribe to. You don't hear me say like I'm old or typically my age and all this. I'm like, I just am. I'm here, which is also part of the reason I say that I look very young. A lot of people mention that, how young I look and that sort of thing, and it's because I don't subscribe to that age dynamic type of thing. So I'm trying to figure out I have a bunch of stuff to talk about, and I have a list here just to keep me on kind of pointing out. So I talked about the allergies. So in college, I ended up having a very stressful senior year. This was the year I had Chinese that year. I was taking a Chinese class. I dated somebody who was very toxic for me. Luckily, I only dated them for like 2 weeks or so and ended it very quickly, but it was probably a little longer than that. But on top of a Chinese class, drinking, we had energy drinks had just come out. So we had Red Bull for years, but this is when I believe the next big one was Rockstar. There might have been one other one, but this is the time where college kids were starting to drink energy drinks, and I was drinking like 3-4 of them a day. because I drank soda. Like I would buy, in high school, I would buy a case of Mountain Dew before they had other flavors of Mountain Dew, a case of Mountain Dew, take it and, you know, for a New Year's party, match people. They would be drinking beer, I'd be drinking Mountain Dew. So all that sugar, all that, those chemicals and stuff going into my body. Very high metabolism. I never had issues with diabetes or anything. My metabolism is just insanely high, insanely active, and I feel it's because of energy pushing through me all the time. And so those issues never occurred, even though all through until, I mean, I drank soda until I was 35, so it was 2024 now, so say 2 years ago, so until 36, yeah, until I was 36, and I drank it like it was something more than water. I mean, I would drink an entire case in 2 days, like a 12-pack wouldn't last 2 days when I'd buy it, especially if I was playing a video game or that sort of thing, and taking a lot of that stuff. And what I noticed throughout the years is that when I drank that, my allergies got worse because I had had the allergy shots, so it had diminished the effect of them on my body. But over the years, when I was drinking soda or eating a lot of candy, my allergies would just get worse. They would inflame, they would flare up, this sort of thing. Now, let's backtrack to college for a second. So in college, I had a stressful year. In my senior year, I was taking this Chinese class, and it was a terrible teacher. I'm not even going to get into that, but it was just it was such a bad teacher that the entire class was failing. Let me put it that way. All but like one person in the class was failing this course. And I'm somebody, and a lot of the people that were there taking the class, because it's a harder language, we were all like A students, like very good students type of thing. And so I was working not just on my regular courses and this and that. I was overloading myself, doing like 4 hours of studying every day on this Chinese course, trying to do what the teacher wanted and figure this stuff out. But that's how bad the teacher was, because it's one of those things, like, I know we could have all learned it, but when the entire class is failing, something's wrong type of thing. And we were so stressed, everybody in the course, because the teacher would go back and forth on what he wanted. One day he would want this, and then he'd test us on a completely different thing and be like, well, now I want you doing this. And then it was just a cluster of you know, just not what he was supposed to be doing. Essentially, he was not in an aligned position to be teaching. So it was very stressful on me with that course, with some of the other courses I was taking that were difficult for my computer science degree in math. I had a math minor, and I ended up getting mono. Is it mononucleosis, I think it's called, but just mono, the kissing disease. I think they call it the kissing disease because it passes around through saliva. I ended up getting mono, got rashes, very, very sick. So sick that when I went to the doctors, they said it was one of the worst cases they had seen. This was not the last time they would say this to me. So I got these rashes. My throat swole up. They gave me medicine that I was allergic to, and so like my throat swole up to where I couldn't talk. And I remember picking up the phone and like I couldn't talk, and I had my buddies standing there, and I was like, I think I wrote him like, I need you to tell my mom, like, I need help, come get me from college, because I mean I was just, it devastated my internal body. And so we finally get it handled. A lot of people get it in college. It's definitely not as bad as what I went through. I mean, I was on IV bags. I was on all kinds of stuff to heal. And when I went, they said had I waited another day, I would have had organ failure type of thing, which was a terrible thing to think about, that like these doctors had given me, not only had they diagnosed me, they had also given me things to exacerbate the issue and make it worse, and ended up being, and they were like, this is one of the worst things we've seen, and all because they gave me stuff that I shouldn't have been taking. And so after that, I started having this strange thing happen for years where my organs would spasm. My abdominal organs would spasm, my intestines, like all across my abdomen, and I could not figure out what it was. I could never figure it out. And so when you're in college, you're on medical insurance with your parents, and I think after I got out of college, I had like 2 years, like they allowed me to stay on it for another 2 years or something. So throughout that period, we would go and we would be like, hey, what's wrong? And they'd be like, we can't find anything wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you. Like, okay, this is what's happening. What's going on? I don't know what's up. Nothing's wrong with you. Like, I'm not faking it. I can feel it. You can put your hand on my stomach and feel them actually pulsating and spasming and all this other stuff. It's not normal. And so my mom has insurance, and in order to get through, my brain's skipping for a second. In order to utilize the insurance before it expires, it was like we had a couple more months on it. We're like, we have to figure this out. What is it? So they went and they're like, well, let's start getting you on CAT scans because we know you have insurance and stuff, and get you these and this and that and all these tests done. Couldn't find anything. Went through scans, and I'm talking like the type of thing where you leave the doctor's office, you have to schedule with a place an hour away, drive in to use this machine that costs, they bill the insurance like 10 grand for, you leave, type of thing. And go back to your doctor, set up another appointment with the doctor, pay them again, and they tell you there's nothing wrong. I went through these cycles of nothing wrong, nothing wrong, nothing wrong. So then finally my mom goes, she finds a new doctor, and she's like, he's really good, go talk to him. So I go talk to him, and he looks at my paperwork, and he goes, you have a vitamin D deficiency. Have they ever tested you for that? I'm like, no. He's like, have they tested your blood? Yeah. But they've never tested you for vitamin D. No. He's like, I guarantee you it's vitamin D. For 2 minutes in with this guy, he's like, you have a vitamin D deficiency. I don't know what they've been doing. And I know what they were doing. They were racking up insurance. So I go up, I get my blood tested, and this is where he's like, oh my God, you have one of the worst, if not the worst, vitamin D deficiency I've seen in my life. Like, your body is not absorbing it. I was a computer programmer. I lived inside the house. I didn't go outside a lot. Like, it just wasn't getting it. And he goes, okay, here's a over-the-counter prescription. I take it. Once I normalize, I start taking, here's a prescription. And then once I stop taking it, I start taking over-the-counter. I'm like, okay, that seems to fix it. My spasms go away, all for a vitamin. I spent years. Now, when I say years, I mean, I was in college in 2007, and I probably didn't have this figured out that it was vitamin D until I was like 24. So that would have been at least 3 or 4 years trying to figure this out, living with this spasming and stuff. It was all related to the mono. The mono had happened, had jacked up my system, and when that happens, your body has to reacclimate and heal, and it shifts your energy and all of that. So the vitamin D thing I wanted to talk about and give you some background on, because a lot of people go through this where they're told these things. Now, one of the things with this is, again, I'm not a doctor, so I can't, if you're having those, I don't know if that's vitamin D, but what I can say is 2 years ago, actually more than 2 years ago, but 2 years ago, several things happened, 2.5 years ago. So I went through a big shift. I left my ex, I left my friends, I removed myself from my family, and I started just going into solitude and embracing my authentic self. So leaving my ex was the biggest thing. I can't tell you the amount of toxic energy that I shifted out of. And after a month of being out of it, I had gone back to get my things and could feel it. And it was like just walking into a space where we used to live, where it was so dense, you almost couldn't even physically walk in. Like your body wanted to push away and be like, get out of here, you go, leave, because this is just dense energy. So I was living with that for 11 years, that density, and not playing like victim mentality or anything. I made my choices to stay in that relationship. We both did what we did. Choices were made, that sort of thing. But one of the things that happened as I woke up is my vibration rose. And when my vibration rose, the space that I lived in when we were together, my spaces were like these very bright places of light type of thing. But when you walked into the denser areas that were shared spaces, because we had, I had an office in the one house in a separate bedroom, and then every place we had a separate bedroom. After about 3-4 years together, we ended up with separate bedrooms, not from not loving each other standpoint, but we literally couldn't sleep together. And now looking back on it, I realize it was our soul in our bodies in our sleep being like, you're not supposed to be here together. And so we're going to make it very difficult for you to sleep because you're beside each other and you're trying to push each other off the bed and all this other stuff in the middle of the night, not knowing you're doing it. So it was very, very important for us to have those separate spaces. In the light space, you feel comfortable, you feel peace in, like my bedroom, my office, that sort of thing. The shared spaces were a lot denser types of energy. When I got out of those energies, my body felt relaxed. One of the things I noticed is I brought my cats home thinking, you know, they were with her for a month by themselves, and then I brought them home to my space, and I thought, oh, they're gonna miss her, and they actually didn't have any anxiety anymore. Their anxiety disappeared. The energy of this space was affecting our mental health, was affecting our ability to be healed and healthy. So then I know I'm kind of jumping around here with some of this stuff, but I'm just kind of going as Spirit's guiding me. So the energy of this space, leaving that energy and that toxicity healed us, helped us feel better. I used to get sick when I was with her. I would be sick once, twice a year when I was there. Part of that was sabotage with when I wanted to make healthier eating habits and that sort of things. That wasn't a relationship that supported the things that I wanted to do. There was a lot of sabotage type elements to it if I wanted to change my diet or do certain things. But the thing I was able to do was walk, was go outside, was hike. I built my spirituality. Galactics came, and started. I was waking up to them rooting through my fridge, and I couldn't figure out why are they looking at my fridge. And they showed me that they were looking in the refrigerator to see our level of consciousness, because they can tell based on what's in your fridge what kind of like what your beliefs are, what your attitudes are, that sort of thing. Now, it's not a foolproof thing, but if your fridge is full of sugar and beer and wine and cheese and all this other stuff, it's not a healthy diet. Your vibration is going to be lower. You're not going to be as consciously aware, as loving, as responsive, or as you're going to be more reactive than responsive, all this other stuff. So they had been coming for years. And look, I would catch them looking in the fridge and couldn't figure it out. And here it was, my diet. They kept saying, you know, to heal yourself, you have to be honest with yourself, which was me being honest that I really didn't want to be in the relationship and leaving it. And to get into a safe space, to be honest with myself about my friendships. My friends were not reciprocal at all. It was friendships of circumstance from college type of thing. They were friends of circumstance that we were friends and we stayed friends, and I love them dearly, still do. But when I chose to walk away, it was one of those situations where you really know who your friends are, because if you kind of just fade away, do they ever contact you again? Or are you the one that was putting in the effort to connect with them? And that's what I realized. I was like, okay, so my entire life shifted 2.5 years ago. My environment shifted. My relationships shifted. I went from having friends to having no friends. I went from having a relationship to no relationship. I went from all these different things. I came home to a space where where my mom and stepdad are close, but also learned that, you know, I can only spend so much time over there because they're so low vibrational that I have to take myself out of the situation very quickly. Otherwise, it's just like they're lower vibrational, so they're on these loops of gossip and loops of complaint and loops of all these things. So I have to take myself and remove myself from there to be in the higher vibrational space, more peaceful space. And so what happened is I started spending more time outside walking. I was taking my vitamin D up until the end of the relationship. And my guys went, stop taking that. And I was like, but I need it. They're like, no, stop taking it. Like, okay. I realized that as long as I got fresh air, got outside, got sunlight, even when it's cloudy. I live in Northeast Ohio. I talk about this during the winter because other people have this issue. A lot of people who have sunlight don't understand what we struggle with energetically. And they're like, just go outside. As long as I go outside and spend time outside, it doesn't matter if it's cloudy. As long as I go for a walk, those issues don't appear anymore. They haven't come back. So I left my vitamin D long ago, a couple of years ago. And again, when I left that space, the toxicity of those relationships and the energy I was in and made better choices was capable of doing that. Everything shifted very quickly, very, very quickly. And galactics came and guides came and they started telling me, like through the fridge, like you need to start eating healthier. And they were telling me that when I was in that relationship. And so I was trying to shift and it wasn't working. You know, some of you might have those relationships where you're trying to do something and you talk about it, and then the next day they do the opposite. So like if you say, hey, I'm going to try to stop eating candy, then the next day they come home with a bag of candy type of thing. So it's a struggle. It's a very difficult struggle in those scenarios. And when I freed myself of that, I was like, wait, I can shift my diet. I can do this. I can do that. I can walk more. I can do all these things that I didn't feel capable of before. So I started leaning back on meat, which I had done for years. I had stopped eating red meat years before, other than bacon. I kept getting yelled at about bacon by my galactic guides and others. And so they would be like, you have to stop eating bacon. And they wanted me to pull back on meat. They're like, stop eating chicken, turkey, all that stuff. So I weaned back. Then they went, stop eating cheese. And we were heading into, so I left in the middle of summer and we were heading into winter, and I was expecting to probably start getting sick and have allergies and all this other stuff. They're like, no more soda, no more, cut back your sugar, all this stuff. I didn't get sick. I did all that. I didn't get sick. I cut back cheese. That Thanksgiving was the last time I tried to eat some Thanksgiving food after like a month of not having those things. It was either Thanksgiving or Christmas. I hadn't had cheese for like a couple months. I hadn't had some other things. I tried to eat them and my body just would not. It was like, absolutely not. You can't eat this anymore. Like, this is so low vibrational. You can feel the bloating. You can feel the inflammation. You can feel all this stuff. So I shifted my diet. I went vegan. Now I went vegan with processed foods, which is, I don't, ding anybody or look down on anybody that does that. I believe that's a step. You know, you can use that as a step, like I did. Use processed foods to do that, and I was still healthier. I was going outside. My vitamin D levels were fine. No spasming anymore. I haven't had spasms in years, or anything. And in the rare occasion that I may have had one, it's like, oh, go outside, get sunlight, go for a walk, get moving. So I went to this raw diet, or mostly raw diet, because I was taking other supplements. I was taking protein supplements and these drinking, you know, like these protein shake things from different companies, and all this stuff that the community, the health community, is like, you have to have this stuff, you have to eat this stuff, these things. If you're going to do this, you need to eat this, you need higher protein, you need all this stuff, you know. So in a lot of people who are on these diets, the recipes all contain that stuff, because we're programmed. Even when you start eating healthier, you're still programmed to buy the commercial products, because it is a commercial industry. So I was using that, and my guides went, stop using it. And I was like, what do you mean stop using it? I need the protein powders and all this. And they're like, stop it. They come to me, the Galactics, multiple different guides, stop doing this. Stop ingesting it. And I'm like, okay. And same with caffeine. Stop doing caffeine. Caffeine was a hard one to kick. I had to wean down to tea, black tea, then green tea, and then nothing, herbal tea. And I hated herbal tea most of my life. I love it now. But what I realized is they kept saying, like, stop, and then see what happens. I stopped the protein supplements. I stopped the over-the-counter shakes, the commercialized, you know, products, foods, all these things that are like, do this because you're a vegan, do this because you're a vegan. And they even have those for other people, you know, like the muscle milk things, the protein, all those like muscle powders and that stuff that's for commercialism. You know, all those extras, I guess. And people feel they have to eat those. And I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? Nothing. I stopped eating them. My health didn't diminish. My energy didn't diminish. The way I felt didn't diminish. Nothing shifted. What shifted is I stopped spending money on these expensive additives, expensive ingredients, and started eating the right way, which is just going, oh, well, okay, so I'm not using my protein powders. Well, I'm just going to buy some nuts and throw those on my salad. I'm going to buy fruit. I'm going to buy this. It saved me money. It helped me eat healthier, and nothing changed. You don't need this. Like, I can't say you don't need the supplements. I didn't need the supplements. My life didn't change. When it came to caffeine, my life didn't change. I still sleep as much. I still have as much energy. I still take my nap. I still stay up as late as I do. Caffeine was not affecting my life at all. Caffeine was just an addiction and a programming mechanism to keep me buying more caffeine. And it brought my health down. Those things bring your health down. I got rid of those. I got rid of, you know, sodas, processed food, sugars. I didn't get sick. My vitamin D was fine. I wasn't having health spasms, none of that stuff. My Galactic guides all helped me with that. My headaches went away. I was having migraines when I was in my relationship. I would get these neck twitch things that all I can describe them as is you just randomly move your neck like this and everything locks, and it's this pain of electrocution that goes up through everything and down your back and just locks you in place, and is horrible to experience. I used to get those. I used to get very bad migraines. I used to have, so one of the things is my bones would click all the time. Like you could hear them out loud, clicking, clicking, clicking. And now I know that if they're clicking, it just means I haven't moved enough. I haven't done my yoga enough, or that I'm stressed. Typically, it's more movement related, and when I'm stressed, I don't move as much. So they're kind of tied together. So if you have those clicking sounds, a lot of it's related to that, and diet. Mine was related to diet too. The healthier I ate, the less my bones clicked, the less my, you know, the tiredness, the soreness of my body was there, because I wasn't inflamed. The sugars, the meats, and all those were inflaming things, and making them harder to deal with. So, and then my allergies like went away. I still have them a little bit, but to the degree that it's like not even a bother, not even an issue. And then another interesting thing was my mouth health. Doing this stuff, getting off all those foods, getting off the sugars, the caffeine, the processed foods, eating healthier, getting sunlight, getting movement, I noticed my mouth health increased. One of the things I did, and I was guided to do, is they guided me. I had sensitive teeth, like super sensitive teeth for years, and they guided me through a friend and other beings. They were like, but get off the toothpaste. Stop using that toothpaste, over-the-counter toothpaste and stuff. And I went to an all-natural toothpaste, no fluoride, nothing of that. My sensitive teeth, it's gone. I don't have any issues anymore. My breath, my mouth health overall is healthier, because I don't have dead meat. I don't have processed sugars and things that are not meant to be in your body. The way I saw, there's a guy on Instagram that does these food reels, and he once said, he's like, why do you think your breath smells and you have dental health issues? Because you're eating things that are not alive. You're eating things that are dead, so then they're rotting in your mouth and continuing to rot. So it was like a wake-up call, and I went, wait, my mouth health has been healthier, and I always had good dental health. Even when I was drinking all that soda, like, I cannot tell you how much sugar I ate. I mean, the sugar that I intook through college up till I was 30, and even in those other years, would kill most people. And in my friends and everything, they're just like, well, how can you do this now? It's my metabolism. Like, it's literally the only reason I can do it is my metabolism is so high, it just poof, in and out of my system. And my dental health was always good. I had very few cavities over the years. But I had super sensitive teeth from the acids, from the meats, the sugars, all that other stuff. And shifting that, my sensitive teeth disappeared. No issues. Healthy as could be. It's phenomenal, the change that when you shift your diet, when you shift your vibration, when you shift the products you're using, how much healthier your system is and stronger and that sort of thing. And so then I go on a trip, and I'm actually going to pause it for a second. So if you noted that I had to pause it, I'm recording before a session. I just wanted to make sure I had enough time to continue this. So I go on this trip, and I'm in Utah. It's hot. It's in the summer, and my back is rubbing against the seat the entire time, and I'm not taking showers, because at the time I didn't know I could take showers at all these different places. I had to learn how to take showers on the road, and so normally I would camp in a place for 5 days, no shower, driving around, the seat pushing into my back as I'm sweating. And it had happened on a few trips where a little tiny cyst had appeared, but then it would just disappear and be gone. And I'm like, okay, so I never worried about it. On this one trip, it got big. I got back from the trip, and overnight, I mean, it was like, it wasn't really there. It was a tiny little dot. And then overnight, it was just like, poof, It was at least the size of a, a $50 coin, which is pretty decent size, 1.5, 2 inches at least. Excuse me. And so I'm looking up what it is because I don't want to go to the doctors. And I'm sitting there like, I don't want to go pay for somebody to cut me open. And I figure out the type it is, and the type that it was, they were like, the only way to get rid of it is for you to go to a doctor and have them cut it out, because it has a root and it has like this pocket and stuff that it'll just grow back, continue growing back. And I go, I'm not doing that. I don't care. I'm not paying them. I have been through multiple doctors, as I've said, who all say we can't figure out an issue, or they screw things up. And I had another one that I didn't even mention earlier where I was in a house. I was probably 26, 27. I woke up. I was drenched in sweat. I was breathing heavy. I got up to walk to the bathroom. I made it to the bathroom, and then I passed out and like was on the floor, like, and got up, called my mom, like, hey, I need to go to the doctor. I don't know what's wrong. Something's up. Here, I believe it was an ascension symptom type of thing years and years and years ago, before I knew what they were. Went to the doctors, and they tried to tell me I had asthma. He's like, you have asthma. I'm like, these aren't even the symptoms of asthma. Like, what do you mean I have asthma? And he is subscribing. He's like, well, here you go. Here's a prescription for asthma. And gave me a prescription. And I didn't even really use it. I think I like used it once, and I'm like, this doesn't even do anything for me. Because I knew that wasn't the case. And I knew I had been, in a situation where the doctor, frankly, didn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. And it's really not their fault. They're taught. They are taught to be like that. They're taught in the academic community to be like that, to not really pay attention to what somebody is saying and just to prescribe and that sort of thing. So I had all these issues with doctors over the years. And a friend has sound healing that she does, and she recommended sound healing. And I was like, okay, I'll give that a try. I'm not kidding. Like, it probably took a week and a half. I put the speaker on every day, twice a day, played these frequencies, and I would meditate and I would say affirmations as I was meditating, like, I am healing, I am healthy, my back is healthy, that sort of thing. And I could feel it dissolving. It was like a squishy, hard sack. And then over time, you could feel it dissolving from this sound. And one day I felt it, like, just the whole thing vibrated, like, and when it did that, I felt it like, oh my God, it just completely changed. And so I went and I was able to, and this is kind of gross, but I went and I was able in that moment to go to the bathroom, and it was in that place in the back, like, you can't see, like, you have to use a mirror. You can't even, like, even with the mirrors, you have trouble seeing it, type of thing. I was able to poke a hole and drain it. And so I did for about another week. I kept doing that, and it kept taking the solids that were in there and liquefying them, and then I would drain them, and it liquefied the entire thing without anybody ever cutting me open, without paying anybody, doing anything. I just went and poked a hole when the time was right, and then it started draining. So my overall health and stuff was increasing, and I was avoiding the commercial aspect of the medical community. And I did that again with on several occasions. I've done that. I ended up with a cat bite, like a really bad cat bite, not from mine, from a stray. They were a physical representation of something that had been poking around. And when it happened, cat bites are one of the worst you can get as far as infections. And I was like, oh crap, and it was like all four fangs into my hand. It was being nice, and then it turned on me within a second and bit me. And I even still have scars. You won't be able to see them on the video, but my guides immediately said, do not go to the doctors. And I was like, what do I do? And they were like, do not go to the doctors. Do not bandage it up. Let it bleed. And I was like, what? Let it bleed. So I let it bleed, because when you let it bleed, the toxins, the infection, it all comes out. Like, it comes out. They're like, they told me the number one mistake, one of the mistakes we do as a species is when we get wounded, we don't let it clear. And then they go, okay, so let it bleed. So I let it bleed, and they wanted me to let it do that until it stopped. It took like 4 hours for that sucker to stop. It did not want to stop. It finally stops, and then they go, okay, now play sound frequency. And we started playing sound frequency, healed like that. And you can't even see the mark anymore. I had a big slash all the way down that was bleeding from the claws, cuts all over. They healed like that, other than the scarring that occurred. Most people would have gone to the emergency room with how bad it was, like how much it was bleeding. They would have gone to the emergency room. They would have gotten a shot, a steroid. I listened to my guides. It was let it bleed, play sound, now bandage it, you'll be fine. Same thing happened when I was in Arizona this last trip. I fell on a cactus. I had an energy shift in, hit me. This negative energy like hit me against as I was walking on a trail, and it shifted my ability to stand on this very small trail. And I fell. And when I fell, I put my hand down, as a lot of us would do. But when you're in when you're in the East, you put your hand down. You're probably just gonna hit grass or a stick or something. Out there, you have cacti. I put it right through a cactus, and I was pulling out needles that were like this long from my hand, like ripping them out and throwing them on the ground. And there were all these holes, especially there was one right here that was really, really bleeding. And you could feel my hand swelling and all this. And I'm like, oh God, I need to get I didn't have a medical kit, but I was gonna like take clothing and bandage it so it stopped the bleeding. My guides again, they're like, let it bleed out, go down. I was on my way out anyway. They're like, go down, get to the where your car is at, lay down in the sunlight. And I laid down in the sunlight. They would play sound frequency the whole time. So I held my phone in my hand playing sound the whole time I hiked back. In the sound frequency, instantly the pain disappeared, the swelling started going down, the bleeding started to slow. I went down, I put my hand in the sun, played the sound beside it, and my hand was fine. I went out with a friend the next few days. They kept asking me about it. They're like, how is your hand not like hurting and all that? It got a little bit stiff the next day. And I'm like, and they didn't ask it like that. They knew of the sound frequency, but they'd ask, and we were under this expectation that my hand was just going to be out of commission for a few days, and it wasn't. The sound frequency healed it. The energies healed it. I had dragons come off that mountain and help like breathe energy into it. I had this blue dragon that was like a young dragon learning how to heal, came down and was working energy through my hand, healing it. So all of these things, like healing can be done on your own. You don't have to be sick is the whole point of this. For years, I was getting sick multiple times a year. I had allergies all year long. If I would get wounded, I would do the whole thing, rapid bandage it, do this, and the wound would be there and you'd be swollen for a while. If you listen to your guides, if you heal your body, get out of your trauma spaces, get out of your toxic spaces. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but sometimes the best thing you can do is leave your friends, leave your family, leave your relationships, because they are not healthy for you. And I know a lot of people will be like, well, it's unhealthy not to be in those and not to have the strength to do that. I was like, look, my whole thing is if you're adding to my peace in my life, great. If you're not adding to my peace, then I don't want you around. Now, that's not a toxic thing. I will go through hell and back with people, and I have been with many of my friends that I have now. We have been through hell and back together. It does not mean that these people are around and it's always peace and, happiness and all that. There are struggles, there are difficulties. The difference is it is not toxic. And that's the thing people don't understand. They don't understand the difference between toxicity and between a healthy relationship where you are growing together, healing together, supporting each other. And yes, you have dark nights, you have trouble, you have bad days, all this stuff that a lot of people would be like, well, I'm not going to be there for you. But if you're there for those people, they are the strongest friends you could have. The difference is they're not toxic. They don't project their toxicity into your life. They don't control you. They don't abuse you. All these things, all these other things. Bring those people into your life and remove the toxic people from your life. That will increase your health, boom, overnight, because you won't be stressed all the time. You won't be on edge all the time. You won't be afraid all the time. Shift your diet. That will shift your internal body, your internal energy. Shift your mental health, your, physical health is a big one. That's the one I struggle with. There's four, in my perspective, there's four bodies of health: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. The other three I've got put down pretty good. The physical is the one that I'm kind of like, I don't want to exercise. Why would I do that type of thing? But if you work on all four of those, your spiritual health, your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, you will not get sick. Now, in 2.5 years, I had not gotten sick. This is 2.5 years ago was the pandemic. Never got sick during the pandemic. Spent time around tens and tens of thousands of people at conventions when they came back. Other people getting sick left and right. All this, I never had that issue, type of thing. I got sick for the first time on this last trip, not because of sickness. It was because I overworked my body. Got too much sun after 4 months of no exercise, 4 months of no sunlight. And then I was warned by my guides to pay attention to my eating habits. And I was not eating enough because I've shifted to a raw diet. I have to eat a lot more food now than I used to. And I overworked my body so much that my body was just like, and so I ended up getting sick, but it wasn't the type of sick that most people have. I knew exactly what it was when it happened. It wasn't like a virus or bacteria or cancer or all these other things. It was just simply me being stupid and not eating enough, not taking care of myself, and not realizing that. And I have this problem in the winter that it's like every winter I do the same thing. I spend time indoors not exercising, I take a trip, and then I just overwork myself because I'm like, oh, I can hike now and hike for 6 hours a day or whatever it is. And you end up overworking your body. But overall, we are not meant to be sick. We are not meant to rely on those industries, and your galactic guides will show you that. Your spirit guides in general, all of them, will help you with that healing. But I ended up with a lot of help from my galactics, especially when it came to bacon, when it came to certain foods, energy. And then my guides come through, and like if I get wounded or something happens, they tell me exactly, here's what you need to do for this. You don't need to go anywhere. Do this and you'll be fine. And as long as I trust them, it's worked perfectly fine. So hopefully that helps some of you out there. Again, if you are having health issues, you can always reach out. I have light codes that people use, especially lung capacity, breathing, eyes, those sorts of things that I have clients who use them and they help them. Again, I am not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. Always go to your medical professional. This is just my story and what has helped me throughout the years on my own healing journey, my physical healing journey. And it was all brought about by listening to my guides, my galactics and all those. So We can all do that. We can all be free. We can all be healthy. It's just a matter of breaking free of the things that are holding us back vibrationally. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching. Grateful for each and every one of you, and I love you all.